So let's finally talk about 1988's Child's Play. For the longest time, Part 2 was my favorite of this franchise, but that changed over the years and now it's Part 1. Because I think it's a lot darker and grittier and more atmospheric. And I haven't seen this in years. I just rewatched it recently and I thought, I might enjoy this just for the nostalgia factor because I grew up watching those films and they stay close to your heart if that's the case. But I enjoyed it for many more reasons because it's just a really good film. It's a good horror film. I have a lot of memories from my childhood about this film and I have to mention those. I have to talk about those a little bit. I first watched Part 2 and Part 2 is a fun time. It's colorful and there's a lot of humor, dark humor in there, and it's playful and it's a fun roller coaster ride. Great effects work. I love Part 2. And so, I enjoyed it. I think I was about 10 years old or something. Became a big fan of the franchise in an instant. And then I got my hands on Part 1. And I wasn't prepared for what I was about to see, for, its dark and gritty tone. And I visited my aunt, she always let us watch those films, even if we were really too young for them to watch. And I watched Child's Play in the middle of the night. And I got so scared. I had nightmares. I completely freaked out. I was waking up all the time because I was afraid and because I had another nightmare and because I wasn't prepared for it to be this dark. I thought it would be just like Part 2. And so my aunt took the VHS from me and hid it somewhere. And I wasn't allowed to watch the film again. But I was, fascinated at the same time. I was scared and it was an unpleasant experience, but at the same time, I was curious. I wanted that kick again. I wanted to rewatch it. So I, at one point, found the tape she hid from me. And, I took the tape out of the box and replaced it with another tape. And I even replaced the tags, so she wouldn't figure out that it's another tape in there. And I took the tape where the film was on home with me so I can rewatch it. And she never discovered it. It's pretty funny, I think. And I became obsessed with this film, watched it 1,000 times. And it's a really good film, We all know what this is about. It's about a doll possessed by the soul of a serial killer named Charles Lee Ray. And little Andy, who lives with his mother in dirty 80s Chicago. They're a little poor. They don't have a lot of money. And this doll is pretty popular at the time. It's all over TV, and he really wants to get his hands on one of those dolls. And the mother, buys the doll from some street dealer, and of course it's the possessed doll. So he gets the doll for his birthday, and slowly but surely strange things are happening, and he starts talking to the doll, and no one thinks, there's something strange about this, and the babysitter gets killed, and little Andy says, hey, it was the doll, it was Chucky, and no one believes him, and the police thinks that he murdered his babysitter. And what's so great about this film is it takes its time. It takes at least half an hour until the film shows us the possessed doll, the true Chucky, with the whole mimic and talking. And up until this point, it's just looks like a regular stoic doll, stoic face, nothing going on there, and it's just whispering to the doll. But you never get to see the truly possessed doll up until I guess 30 minutes into the film or something, and that's very effective. Because we all know what's happening, but I think back in the day you could have thought maybe the kid is going insane. Maybe there's no possessed doll. Maybe the kid is just freaking out and murdered the babysitter. And I love the fact that the police thinks that he did it, and they bring him to some mental facility because they are convinced the little kid murdered his babysitter. And even the mother believes the police and thinks the kid did it. And yeah, that's somehow unsettling. And half an hour in or so, there's this effective, brilliant scene, and it's a classic at this point. It's such a great scene where the mother thinks, she's desperate, and she thinks, maybe the doll is possessed. She doesn't really believe it, but she considers it at least because of her desperation. And then she discovers there are no batteries in the doll. And this was the moment that scared me the most back in my childhood days, when she realizes there are no batteries in there, but it still moves. And it's great. It's so great. And then, she threatens to throw him into the fire, and all of a sudden the doll comes to life in the most evil way. And the whole effects work was great. The mechanics, how they did the face, the mimic, how it moves. And of course, Brett Dourif gave the doll his voice, and he's iconic and charismatic and unforgettable in his voice work. And it's a very effective scene, and this doll starts cursing and bites her in the arm, and it's great, and it's all very well lit. I think what they did with the lighting in this film is very effective. I love the dark and gritty Chicago atmosphere. It's cold outside, it's dirty, the streets look dirty, and it's always a little dark, the place where the little Andy and his mother live at. It's just a flat, but the way they lit it, it's a lot of shadows and dark corners, and very atmospheric. I also like the music a lot. It's very underrated, I think. It's not talked about a lot. I love part one for those elements. I think it's very effective in its pacing. I think it's very effective in terms of atmosphere and lighting. And of course, the effects work is great. I think Chucky looks the best in this film. And they really are pushing things to the extreme in the last 20 minutes of this film, where they are not able to kill him. And they shoot him and they burn him, and he looks disgusting and bloody and burnt, and it feels like a classic a horror film from another time. I think that's the moment the doll really became a modern horror icon, and just like Frankenstein or Dracula or something like this, because it just looks iconic. It's just an iconic look, and what they were able to do with the mechanics it's impressive. And I think Alex Vincent played Andy, and I think he's also pretty effective. I wasn't the biggest fan of his later portrayals when he was a grown-up. Didn't like this, but as a kid, I think he was very effective. Pretty great child actor. I'm not sure if he was in any other film besides part 1 and 2 of this franchise. I have to look it up. But great work, and maybe I felt for him because I was going through stuff in my childhood, and I somehow know the feeling of getting hunted by something, let's say. But that's another story. The mother is also great. She was in some 80s TV show, and she wasn't typecast. She acted against what we knew from her. And the guy who plays the cop, He was also in. He was in Prom Night? No, not Prom Night. What was the film? Fright Night. Fright Night. He was the vampire in Fright Night. He's also a very charismatic guy. So it's a horror classic because it's a great horror film. It's a great time. Do yourself a favor, rewatch it if you haven't seen it in a while. It's my favorite of the franchise. Thank you for watching and see you very soon.